Most people start DMing. The standard is to kind of just throw magic shops in as a way to let players spend their gold. I had a DM that did this, and let's just say it was the last campaign he ever did it in. In my games, I don't have magic shops. I think they're a kind of lame way to spend gold, for the most part. So then, Jared, if players can't spend gold in magic shops, what are they supposed to spend their gold on? Let's get into it. Here are 5 things that you can let your players spend gold on. Our first thing is to buy a bard. I figure I should start out with this one just to explain the thumbnail. So what I'm going for here is you should let your players pay a bard to tell their tale throughout the city and the realms. Not only is this introducing a cool NPC or maybe even ally, but what you can do mechanically is let this bard tell the tale of these heroes, and whenever they have to make charisma checks in this city that they are now well known in due to this bard spreading the word, they can gain some sort of bonus whenever they're making charisma checks interacting with the people of the world. What's cool with this is you can balance it, so if the players spend more gold, the bonus might be bigger, or if it's a massive city, it might be more widespread if they spend more gold. For example, if they're in Waterdeep, they might pay a bard, but that's only telling the tale in the Yawning Portal Tavern. But if they pay a grand sum of gold, then perhaps all of Waterdeep will know their name. One little plot hook here potentially could be if they're trying to spread the word in a massive city, maybe this bard they're hiring is from a lost band and you need to go find the other band members. And then when they do, this massive band can spread the word throughout the city. Yay, plot hooks. The second thing we got here is fine dining. For those who have played any Monster Hunter games, something that happens before you're going out to adventure is you pay a little bit of gold and you just have this massive, glorious meal. Then based on, I guess, how good the meal is, you get various different buffs that are going to help you in your adventuring day. This concept also works in D&D, and the more gold you spend, the better the buff is going to be, or the better chance you can get one of the higher perked buffs. I have a food table that I personally use in my games, and I found my players really enjoy it. It's got, I think, like 116 different options, and typically they'll roll a D100 to see what buff they get, and the higher the number is better buffs, lower number is worse buffs. To get those kind of over 100 numbers, they can get different bonuses based on like the meal that they eat. But anyways, remember that these buffs are from special foods. You're not going to get these from eating rations or even just a bowl of cereal in a tavern. This is a grand banquet up at the Royal Palace kind of feast. Basically, just remember this type of food is a luxury that should be quite expensive and can give something for your player to spend their gold on. The third thing we got is magic items. But wait, didn't you just say don't let your players buy magic items in magic item shops? Yeah, and for the most part, you shouldn't. And I'm not even going to be touching on that for most part you shouldn't. Instead, I do something entirely different. What I personally do in my games is I have a magic item crafting NPC that charges a premium to make custom items or any items that the players might want or have a blueprint for. Sometimes these items are homebrew, which makes sense. It's custom items that can kind of cater towards the player's needs, but other times they're standard items. Standard magic items. Something I'll do with this magic item crafting NPC is typically there's some sort of special component needed to craft the item. What I'll do is use this as an opportunity for a plot hook for the characters to go on a quest to retrieve this special component. For example, there's an item called Illusionist Bracers that when you cast a cantrip, you can cast a cantrip again with a bonus action. It's a very rare item, attunement, very, very powerful for a warlock. I had a warlock in my party that really wanted this item, as most warlocks would. And so they had to go on a quest to the Shadowfell to kind of get the illusion-based magic for this item in a vial, as well as dealing with this powerful genie to get a base for the bracers. It ended up being a really fun quest that added some extra lore behind the creation of this item, and it made it really unique and special for that player. One thing I want to add to this point is hopefully for this system, you have some sort of level of DM intuition about pricing, because the pricing system based on whether something's uncommon, rare, very rare, or legendary is really bad. Maybe a video for another time. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. But if you have a little bit of experience DMing, hopefully you can look at an item and kind of gauge how strong it is and then know where to price that item. Fourth on this list, we got potions, poisons, and scrolls, or altogether consumables. Please, please, please let your marshals use scrolls. At my table, if a fighter has a scroll of fireball and wants to use it, they don't need to make a check. They just do it. Everyone's always complaining about spellcasters get too strong and leave marshals in the dust. Spell scrolls is your answer there. Let everyone use magic. D&D is a high fantasy game. There is magic. Let magic happen. Scrolls is only one of the things though. We also have potions, and I'm not just talking about healing potions. There are so many different kinds of awesome potions in this game. So many uses for cool homebrew potions in the game. One of my personal favorites to kind of just hand out like candy is the different potions of giant strength. Again, this very much so helps martials out. Letting your martial character have 29 strength for that massive fight is a crazy feeling when they just grow in size and feel like they can't miss and are doing extra damage. They really feel like the star of the show. There's even a really cool potion from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons that I believe it's called Potion of Dragon's Majesty. And when you drink it, you literally just turn into a dragon. Like, how cool is that? And yes, these potions might be very powerful and make a fight trivial. But the key here is it makes a fight trivial. It's not going to derail your campaign with this massive buff to your players that now you're having to rebalance everything just because they have this one thing. No, they might win that one big fight, but that's going to feel really good for them. And then they're going to be back at the mortal level right after that. The last main consumable I want to touch on is poisons, which so much room for homebrew with poisons. They're very lackluster the way that they are. There's a purple worm poison, but that's kind of it. But even with the purple worm poison, give that to your players. Like, imagine being a level 3 character with a purple worm poison and you just one-shot something. Yeah, sure, breaks your campaign, whatever. That player is going to feel so epic. Imagine you're a rogue with a little short bow, a little halfling rogue, we'll say. You coat that arrow with the purple worm poison, pull it back, and you shoot that lich. And then it's not epic because he's actually immune to that damage. That was a terrible example, but you know what I mean. Finally, we have custom items, and I don't just mean homebrew items. I mean, custom is homebrew, but it's also a lot more than that at the same time. Hear me out. What I mean by custom is to work with your players, ask what they want, and not just magic item. Maybe the paladin in your party has maybe you're high levels and he has a pet griffin, or he literally has a pet griffin, and he wants to get armor for this pet griffin, or maybe get some metal thing to put over the griffin's claws so the griffin does more damage. Those aren't necessarily magic items. I mean, they could be, but they're kind of very unique things that aren't in the game that the player might say, hey, is there any way a shop in town might have this? Don't be the DM that just says no. Say, no, but maybe you could talk to this guy and he might know how to help you. Another example is I have a player in one of my games. He's a gold dragonborn monk, and a lot of times monks will be kind of detached from gold. He just decided to go the opposite way, where he really likes gold, not in a greedy way, but really likes just being what he calls glam. And this character just wants the finest clothes in the world. There's not really a system for the finest clothes in the world, so work with him. Say, what does your perfect attire look like? And help him spend gold to get some velvet robe that he uses as he sways in the wind, punching his foes to death. And then with him spending this gold on this cool roleplay thing, give him a bonus on charisma checks when he's dealing with nobles, as they really respect his fine garbs. Or maybe with peasants, you get advantage on intimidation checks as they're not sure they want to mess with you. They don't know your status. Okay, hang on. There's something real quick before you go we need to talk about, and that is power creep. Consumables like the potions, scrolls, and poisons that we talked about, as well as the food buffs, are pretty safe. Kind of what I was saying earlier. If you use them, it's a one-time thing, and it might make a fight incredibly easy. But after that, everything's back to square one. Game is back to being balanced. There's also things like the custom items we were talking about before. Those are typically going to be more permanent things. Even the charisma check bonuses from a bard telling the tale or getting fine clothes, that charisma bonus will creep up and up and up and up until they have a plus 15 to charisma and are just succeeding on every check willy-nilly, and they're only level 7. Another example of where permanent buffs might get out of hand is just letting someone add a d6 or a d8 to every attack. Let's say that's a fighter. As they're scaling level and getting more and more attacks and action surge, those damage numbers might start to get out of hand as the wizard starts to cast haste, just kind of ramps up over and over and over. Now, I do want to say unbalancing your game isn't necessarily bad. That's a video for another day, but this is more of just a warning. Make sure you know that you're giving your players these permanent buffs and really think about it before you give it to them, and think about what might happen later on in the future if you do decide to give them these permanent items. But there is a permanent item that is permanent, but at the same time can also keep the gold and economy flowing in your games. I would call this maybe my 6th secret tip on what to let your players spend gold on. And this is a pretty common one, but let them buy a home base or a stronghold or a castle or something along those lines. Not only is the home base itself gonna cost quite a large sum of gold, there's also gonna be the upkeep element that they're gonna have to keep paying gold to do. And I'm not talking about hiring a maid to keep it clean. Those things are boring. I'm talking about making sure the defenses are ready for when they get attacked. And maybe while they're gone, they're getting attacked over and over and over again, and their castle's taking damage or running out of ammo, and they have to restore that with gold. Otherwise, when they come back, their loot that they left there might not be there anymore. Another cool thing that you can do with these big castles is they can hire NPCs. A cool example of this is maybe you add an in-house chef in that can help them get those food buffs that we were talking about earlier. Besides that, I have many more ideas on things you can let your players spend gold on in your games. But I'm sure you guys also have a ton of good ideas. Hopefully this video maybe gave you some inspiration and not just some concrete tips to take. If you did come up with some cool ideas just off the top of your head, throw them in the comments. Let us know, and hopefully the comment section can turn into a resource for things to let your players spend gold on. And finally, if you're finding that your combats are getting a little bit slow and losing that intensity vibe, go ahead and click on this video right here. And if you found this video helpful, please give me a like, give me a subscribe if you're wanting to see more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.